Test 1 2, test 1 2.
Alyssa needs to put hers on.
We have extras?
I do not. I may. Extra what?
Yeah, I was surprised last year because they had the option to go online. So Claire was in a class with 4 people.
Okay.
And this year she has a full class. She's like, I liked the small little class.
Yeah, well, yeah, that would be nice, just a few people, but no, we did the summer program, that was nice. Because I think they still had it in person.
Oh, yeah,
So.
they did.
Or, I'm sorry, yeah, no, the year before.
They did. They had it in person and
Yeah.
with masks on. And
Good evening and welcome to the September 13th, 2021 Sylvania Board of Education meeting. Ms. Shanks, can you call the roll?
Julie Hoffman.
Here.
Ruslan Slitsky.
Here.
Greg Feller.
Here.
Kimberly Conklin.
Here.
Tammy Lavalette.
Here.
Thank you. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is in back. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, that takes us to a presentation from you, Ms. Shanks.
Just to break it down in smaller chunks, and that way when we get to the 5-year forecast, there's not so much information to absorb. So the first part, like just titled it Part 1, because I'm gonna try to do this once a month.
Oh, I think she wants you there.
Do you want to hold this? No.
Don't fall.
Yeah, watch that.
It's making me nervous.
I know.
No one can hear you. No? Okay, perfect. I'll take this. Right. So the prior funding model, I don't think this is even on. Okay.
Here, do you want mine?
Is this on? It's on. Is it on now? It's great.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay. So the prior funding models, the last year we actually had a formula funded model was in 2018, and all the students were accounted for by the resident districts. So all the students that we had going out to all of the other educating facilities and school districts were reported and accounted by us. And it was through a lot of labor-intensive communication between the districts. And then we had this process of tuition being transferred in and out through the state foundation payment system. So there's over 600 public schools in the state of Ohio, and in 2019, approximately 140 were capped districts, and 370 districts were on the guarantee, which means they weren't using the funding model at all. So about 15% were actually funded using the funding formula developed by the state. So what it means to be a capped district, Sylvania was capped, it means that once we put all of our particulars into the state funding calculator, the state then decides that's really too much, we can't afford to do that, so we're going to cap you by a percentage. And you're only going to receive a percentage of what you received in the prior year. And then 370 were on the guarantee, which means that their funding specifics meant that they should actually receive a loss of funding, but because it was probably a smaller district, it was too much of a loss in 1 year, and they couldn't absorb that, and it would have put them in a financial crisis situation. So they were guaranteed to receive no less than they did in the prior year. So very few districts were actually formula funded. So this is just one of the reports that we see with this tuition in and out, and it's just for community schools, but there are 4 other components to this, which includes Ed Choice Scholarship, Autism Scholarship, John Peterson Scholarship, open enrollment outgoing. But this is just one, and you can see it accounts for all of the students in the community schools. It calculates for the opportunity grant, and this was back in 2019, K-3 literacy, special ed, career tech, and then provides that total transfer out. But it's 190 students that we deal with through the EMIS system in order to account for as the educating district, or as the resident district rather. So the new funding formula, which went into effect in July of 2022, is the Fair School Funding Plan. And what it did was it broke the funding, the cost to fund students into 4 categories or 4 components. And those are direct classroom instruction, building leadership and operations, instructional and student support, and district leadership and accountability. About 78% of our funding formula goes to personnel, which is a little bit less than what we actually have seen. And then the other 22% goes into non-personnel. So our base funding for our base cost is $55 million, but that doesn't include things like special ed or ELL population, our gifted population, our transportation piece. This is just the base cost for educating students. So that base cost, and each individual district has their own total base cost per pupil. In the past, it was $6,000, $6,010, $6,020, but our base cost is determined by our capacity, local capacity calculation. So in the past, our share of state funding ranged anywhere from $2,000 to $2,300 of $6,000. Well, now our total base cost per pupil is $7,361 for 2022, and our state share is $1,700 per student, and our local share is $5,600, which is more than what we have been used to in the past.
So you said in the past our state share was like 2,300?
Between 2,000 and 2,300, depending on the cap.
And with this new funding model, it drops to 1,700?
It does. So the Ohio School Funding Plan, it provides funding for district educated enrollment. So all those other pieces of the transferring out, the students at community schools, students at receiving vouchers and scholarships, traveling to other districts to receive education, those are not calculated in our funding anymore. So if you look at the total enrollment versus the educated enrollment, it provides the district educated enrollment for the last 5 years. And if you'll see in fiscal year 21, our total enrollment was 7,900 students, but we only educated 7,400 students in Sylvania schools. And the biggest reason why that dropped was because of COVID. More students were being educated homeschooled or educated online due to COVID. We do anticipate that enrollment will rebound. So what this looks like is the revenue impact from 21 to 22. We will expect to see less funded revenue. However, into the tune about $2.1 million. But if you look at this piece on the expenditure impact, we're also going to be receiving less expenditures out, and that's for the open enrollment and the community schools, the autism, the Ed Choice, the Peterson Scholarship, and that's a $3.7 million decrease in expenses. So even though we're receiving less revenue, we're also going to have less expenses on the expenditure side. And the wellness funding was funded outside of the general fund, and that's being brought back into the general fund this year. So the difference is about $3.2 million in savings in the cost, which is $1.1 million in additional revenue. And we'll receive 16% of that this year, an additional, which is about $262,000. So that's what I have for the first part of this presentation. Do you have any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Lisa?
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, we'll let Lisa get back. One more click. There you go. Okay, now we have a presentation from Tom Burnworth from the Sylvania STEM Center. Wait, are we playing games? Is that what you're doing? Robotics. Robotics. Don't ask me to build anything, Tom.
No, you'll have fun.
Hmm?
You'll have fun.
Would you like me to turn more towards you guys?
That'd be great. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sylvania School Board, for inviting me to come and talk about some of our programs. for those of you that I haven't met, I've met a good portion of you up there, but my name is Tom Burnworth, and I am the Executive Director at Sylvania STEM Center. The program that I'm here tonight to talk about is our Engineering in the Classroom program that we're working with Sylvania schools on. But before I get into that, for those of you that I haven't met and that may not know, Sylvania STEM Center, primarily we do robotics and other fun STEM activities for kids 1st through 12th grade. And starting in 4th grade, those robotics teams turn fully competitive, and they work their way through tournaments and learn a wide variety of skills, and that's what's got all of this started. We started in 2011, and this is our 10th year and 11th season that we're going into with our teams. And as our teams grew, we started to wonder how we could give the STEM experience to kids that may not necessarily be involved on our teams. Not every kid has the drive to spend 5-6 hours a week working on a robot, but they would all benefit from hands-on learning and learning how things work together and problem solving. And so through that, when we were thinking about that, and we got some input from Sylvania schools, I think maybe 3-4 years ago, and we developed the Engineering in the Classroom program. It started at Sylvan Elementary. We piloted it there in 2019 with, I believe, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, I think. Through that, we showed that every kid gained knowledge and STEM skills through the program. They gained a better understanding in programming, they gained better understanding in problem solving, and also on how things go together, depending on which program we were running for them. From there, other schools wanted to get on board. In the folder that you have there, pretty quickly after we ran the pilot at Sylvan and we were working on next steps with Sylvania schools, Whiteford Ag across the border heard about the program, and we started running it up there, and we've been running Engineering in the Classroom program up there 1st through 5th grade for the last several years. The following year, Highland reached out and wanted these programs for their students. At the time, we were unable to go district-wide in Sylvania, and Highland Parent Organization decided that it was something that they wanted for their students. So we brought the programs into Highland and ran them in Highland, and they were, we ran it 1st through 5th grade, and they were very well received. The kids really enjoyed it, and the teachers welcomed it in the classroom. Everybody was really excited about that. Right about then is when the whole world shut down and everything went on pause. In the meantime, we've had a few superintendents, and as soon as Dr. Motley came on board, we reached out and started talking about starting the program back up again. As soon as we could get back into the schools, and so one of the big things was we wanted to make sure that, or Dr. Motley wanted to make sure that all Sylvania kids had the opportunity to have these programs and had the opportunity to experience this type of learning. And so we put together a proposal, and I think we have a really great partnership working with Sylvania schools right now. Actually, today was the very first day that Engineering in the Classroom started this year in Sylvania schools. So today we were in Sylvan Elementary in Miss Hatcher's class running microbit, and we were over at Hillview, and I apologize, I wasn't at Hillview, so I don't remember which programs they actually ran. But I do know that the kids were ecstatic to have us in the classes. They were so excited to be able to start working with the different materials, and the teachers were really happy to have us in there with the materials, and they were excited over the things. But really, this program, it is about programming, it is about building and all that, but it's also about problem solving. We're trying to show them a process that they can use for the rest of their life, and a way to work a problem to get a solution and continue to work that problem until they get the result that they want. And so, in all of the things, in all of the programs, and all of the different things that we do, that really lies at the heart of what we do. We show them a process, it's generally in what we have, we call it the engineering design process, where they're identifying the problem, they think about a solution to it, they prototype or put that solution into action. Then they reflect on it. Did it work? Yes, no? And then they revise that. And they can work that as many times as they need to get the result that they want. And really, that's at the heart of not only our engineering in the classroom program, but also our robotics programs that we do at the center. And hopefully, with the spark that we give these kids at the schools, that will then lead them into looking into potentially a STEM career, or joining a robotics team to learn more about it. And when they come to us for robotics, that's really where they really get immersed in STEM. Our first through third graders, they use little We-Do robots. It's just one motor, a couple sensors, and they learn how to make it go, and they learn drag and drop programming, but it's really learning how things work around them. The next level is 4th through 8th grade, and they get a little more sophisticated robots. Those can run 4 motors, and they can run 4 sensors, and they have missions they actually have to accomplish. Also with that, we really start driving home what we call core values, and that's what really stood out to us about the robotics competitions that we joined. So all of our robotics teams compete in a program, or in a program called FIRST. And so FIRST is like the NFL, and all of us teams compete underneath of that. And when in FIRST, there is what they have is called core values, and that's teamwork, inclusion, innovation, fun, discovery, and impact. And that is that is arguably the most important thing that we do. They have to learn how to work together as a team. They have to learn how to include everybody. They have to share what they've done. Right? So there's all these things, and that's what drew us to FIRST as opposed to any other competitive robotics league. Because there are others out there, but this is what set this one apart for us. This is what drove us to this one. And then in middle school, and I brought some examples of our middle school robots. Middle school is where they start making robots out of things other than Legos. They start using hand tools and some shop equipment. They're beginning to use CAD and some of the different equipment, and they can really make the robots out of whatever they want. And these ones are made out of plexiglass and aluminum. And it's not the best display on the cart, but you guys kind of get the idea. And so these 2 robots both play the same game, but you can see they're clearly different in the way that they were designed. 2 different teams. And so that starts it. And then our high school team is where it really turns into, it's still competitive robotics, but they build large robots, 120-pound robots, 4 foot tall. They compete in arenas. Yeah. And they can use a wide variety of materials. Pneumatics is allowed. They use industrial grade motors, all of that, and the full line of shops. So they're using laser cutters and CNC plasma cutters. They're 3D printers, the full line of shop tools, everything. So it transitions from just robotic team to workforce development. And so these kids can leave our programs, and they can be competent in designing parts on SolidWorks, or heading into a machine shop and they know shop safety and they know how to work these machines. It directly correlates what we're doing here with what they can do out there. They leave with real world skills. In there, you'll find a letter from Cooper Losi. And he was one of our original team members. And he talks about how what he learned on our robotics teams directly reflects as what he did as a junior in college for his engineering internship at Innovative Material Handling over here in Sylvania. And he was able to draw those lines from, this is how we solved a problem there, and this is still how we're solving a problem here. It's the same thing. The machines get bigger and more expensive, but it's the same process. And so, he was able to, draw that or realize that, and kind enough to write a letter, explaining that for us. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to show you some of the materials that we're taking into the classroom so you guys can see what we're doing. And then if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
And I'm just going to step in to say, good evening, Melissa Romero, your Elementary Director of Curriculum and Teaching and Learning. How excited I am that this initiative is in our schools. We are in grades 1 through 5. We have students doing Lego engineering, from coding to robotics, engineering with our Lego. It is amazing to see what this program is bringing to our students from across the grade levels. They're in there, the students are so engaged, they're having fun, they want to come back to school. So the spark that I saw today was utterly amazing to have witnessed that. What I really enjoy about the program is the core value alignment when we talk about our social emotional learning and the impact that it has. These things are not just creation and critical thinking, but these students have the opportunity to develop their social emotional growth as well. How do you deal when something goes wrong? And I think that this program is going to have bounds and leaps for the children in our community and for our students. So I am so excited to have this here and what that they create. I'm hoping I get a robot that makes my morning easier, makes my breakfast, drives my car, and gets me to work on time. So that's my goal. But I'm just so excited for Tom to show you what we're presenting and what our students will be creating. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa.
They built it in the program. We also use this as microbit for our fourth graders. And they learn to program it, learn the different chips, what they do, accelerometers.
Fourth grade.
They can see what different things do. Since it's all close.
Here's the first. Is that a robot? No, I don't think that's a robot.
Beyond that, we have simple machine kits. So we bring in, for our first graders, we bring in simple machines. We bring in the real life simple machines. So we'll bring in levers and gears and things like that for them to see. Then they use this kit to build those simple machines. So they get the full understanding of how things work and how that simple machine is helping them. And this is also able to tie in to the teacher's lessons where they're talking about force and friction and push and pull and things like this. This drives that home to where they really understand what they're doing. And then finally, the little we do robots. Like I said, they're just these little guys. Not intimidating to kids at all. They love it. It's just got little motors and wheels, and they windmills and cars, and then they use the sensors to try to not crash into things. So it's fun, and they enjoy it, and they're learning how to use sensors and put everything together and make things go. Any questions? No? Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that partnership. Very excited.
If I could share a few words, Tom, I have to say, when I first came to Sylvania about a year ago, you already mentioned it, that I had this vision of how we could expand this for all students in our district, regardless to what side of town they lived on. And I wanted to say thank you to your team and your organization for not only partnering with us, but making it a reality almost a year later. We're here, we're doing it, and this is the first step. I look at how we can continue to work together to help provide professional development for our staff and expand this type of innovative curriculum that will go on to support our children for years to come. When I think about it now, I was just mentioning to Julie, when I was in 5th grade, I was braiding my baby doll's hair. And now to know that they're like programming and doing coding and things of that nature, so much of what we do nowadays, it's done by a robot. You go through the car wash, it's a robot. The cash registers, a robot. There was a robot in a grocery store. I mean, there's so much out there. So thank you for working with us and helping us to continue to grow and expand this program. It is absolutely amazing, and it's a win-win for everybody. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, with that, we are with you, Dr. Motley, for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman. I'm not going to take up too much time tonight because we've already had 2 presentations. I just want to let everyone know we're quickly approaching, I believe, midterm of our first 9 weeks.
How is that? Wow.
First 9 weeks, almost halfway through already. But our school year is moving along. I've had the opportunity to visit several buildings, a couple of volleyball games, one at Arbor Hills and also one at McCord. That was a lot of fun. I heard this morning that our bleachers will be arriving for McCord very soon. So in the gym, we have that fabulous brand new gym floor. Our athletes won't have to sit in folding chairs. We'll have brand new bleachers to go with the new gym floor. So we're excited about that. Also, I've had the opportunity to visit with about 5 buildings thus far, visiting schools, individual staff meetings, talking to our teachers, answering any questions or concerns they may have about the direction of the district, and also articulating a little bit more about our strategic plan. Actually, next Monday, September 20th, we will bring our lead team together for our strategic plan so we can continue that work to design a plan that will help us guide our future direction. It's our roadmap. It's our anchor of what we want to be in, where we want to be in 5 years, what programs look like from facilities to instruction and all things in between. So that's my superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. This is the first opportunity for public participation for items which are on the agenda. Nothing? Okay, seeing none, we are back with you, Dr. Motley.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman. I recommend item 5.1, the acceptance of gifts, more specifically from USI Retail, and the gifts were donated to our technology department. They donated a variety of monitors and printers and extra cassette paper trays. I did think from my era that was like cassette tape. They're not. They're kind of like the trays we use, like the boats that you get French fries in. So yeah, I don't know why a technology company would have those, but nevertheless, we need them. We can use them. Thank you to USI for donating these items, and I recommend that approval.
I'll move approval. I'll second.
Any comments or questions?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Ms. Shanks?
Ruslan Slutsky?
Yes.
Greg Feller?
Yes.
Julie Hoffman?
Yes.
Kimberly Conklin?
Yes.
Tammy Lavalette?
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.2, which is a memorandum of understanding between Bowling Green State University and the Sylvania schools in regards to field experience placement. This MOU covers our pre-service teachers that are interested in becoming professional educators in the future.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? Ms. Shanks?
Julie Hoffman?
Yes.
Tammy Lavalette?
Yes.
Kimberly Conklin?
Yes.
Ruslan Slutsky?
Yes.
Greg Feller?
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.3, our school bus stops for the 2021-2022 school year. I've learned from being in the district last year to make sure that the stops were cross-checked for sex offenders, and my understanding from Mr. Joe Beck and Ms. Deborah Nitch, they did a check and a double check
Okay.
in that regard. So I do recommend approval.
In that case, I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? Thank you for checking that ahead of time.
Absolutely.
Ms. Shanks?
Julie Hoffman?
Yes.
Ruslan Slutsky?
Yes.
Greg Feller?
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.
Kimberly Conklin?
Yes.
Tammy Lavalette?
Yes.
Oops, I was focused.
I think you still had 3. So.
Okay. Now back to you.
Thank you. All righty. I apologize, Michelle.
That's okay, my computer stalled, sorry.
That's okay. All righty. Item 5.4, I recommend approval for the American Red Cross Facility Use Agreement. This agreement is in partnership with the American Red Cross, that they are able to use our school facilities as shelters for disaster victims if in a case that something would go wrong, a terrible tornado, or where some of our residents may be displaced from their homes, that they could use our facilities to provide support services as shelters, food, water, things of that nature.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions?
Let's hope we never have to use this.
Ms. Shanks?
Greg Feller.
Yes.
Kimberly Conklin.
Yes.
Julie Hoffman.
Yes.
Tammy Lavalette.
Yes.
Ruslan Slutsky.
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.5, an agreement with the Sylvania STEM Center agreement to provide education in the area of STEM curriculum, engineering in the classroom more specifically, for our students in grades 1 through 5 for the 2021-2022 school year.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions?
I have one. Are you planning to take advantage of the multi-year discounts, or is that?
You know what, we may or may not. One of my goals curriculum-wise is to expand this program where we actually have a teacher in each building that will provide STEM. So we didn't want to get too far out in front of us before we would add it to our AMP rotation, which is art, music, PE. I'm looking to provide a teacher in each building. So it's not a 1 or 2 week lesson, but it's something that's part of our curriculum that circulates all year long and that it builds on a continuum.
So you don't have to make that decision now?
Correct.
I got it.
Right.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else? Ms. Shanks?
Kimberly Conklin.
Yes.
Greg Feller.
Yes.
Tammy Lavalette.
Yes.
Ruslan Slutsky.
Yes.
Julie Hoffman.
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.6 to enter into a service agreement with Sylvania Schools and the Northwest Ohio Educational Service Center Board. This particular recommendation is to provide services for a hearing impaired classroom and related service for a hearing impaired student.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? Ms. Shanks?
Ruslan Slutsky.
Yes.
Tammy Lavalette.
Yes.
Julie Hoffman.
Yes.
Kimberly Conklin.
Yes.
Greg Feller.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 5.7, I am recommending approval with the Bottling Groups LLC. This would be a 5-year contract starting in July of 2021, although the machines have not been delivered yet. And thank you to Ms. Lavalette for pointing out some questions. And to be clear, this will not impact sales of food for boosters or things that are in our concession stands. This is only a partnership agreement with the customer, which is also our site person, cafeteria supervisor, which was Mr. Ray Walston. So for our boosters and parent groups who still want to go to Costco and buy 40 bottles of water for $2, they can still do that and sell it at the concession stands. It is totally separate, so I did clarify that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
Okay, I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? Ms. Shanks?
Julie Hoffman.
Yes.
Tammy Lavalette.
Yes.
Greg Feller.
Yes.
Ruslan Slutsky.
Yes.
Kimberly Conklin.
Yes.
Thank you. I have a recommendation for an administrative stipend to be paid to one employee for the 2021 school year. This employee was an OPSI member under the 2021 school year and would have been entitled to a $500 stipend under our agreement. I recommend approval for this individual.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? Ms. Shanks?
Ruslan Slutsky.
Yes.
Kimberly Conklin.
Yes.
Greg Feller.
Yes.
Tammy Lavalette.
Yes.
Julie Hoffman.
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.9, the resignation of an exempt employee, Jill Mackey, effective 9/7 of 2021.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? Ms. Shanks?
Julie Hoffman.
Yes.
Greg Feller.
Yes.
Ruslan Slutsky.
Yes.
Tammy Lavalette.
Yes.
Kimberly Conklin.
Yes.
Thank you. I would like to move into items related to human resources for licensed personnel on a consent agenda item basis or consent approval. I recommend item 6.1, which is an increase in position for a teacher at Central Trail to provide intervention services for students. Item 6.2 are supplemental positions for the upcoming school year. You'll see several at our high schools and our junior highs and at Highland Elementary. We have item 6.3, which is a correction to supplemental positions for the 2020-2021 school year. I want to double check that because it may be 2021-2022 school year. I'm not quite sure. I may want to table that when I'm reading that to make sure it's not a typo. Item 6.4 is a correction for licensed unpaid leave of absence for a teacher in our district. Item 6.5 is the employment of licensed employees for home instructors for the 21-22 school year. Item 6.6, I recommend approval for our licensed RESA Mentors, which is a resident educator program. We are required to participate in this program by the state of Ohio. It is a mentoring program for incoming teachers that are brand new to the field. Item 6.7 are a number of substitute teachers who have signed up with us for the 21-22 school year. Thank you, we appreciate it. Also, item 6.8, we have a few resignations that took effect during the month of August and early September. Item 6.9, licensed CPI trainers. These are teachers in our district that provide CPI sessions for our teachers throughout the course of the school year. Item 6.10 are a number of extra duty compensation for a number of activities that our educators provided, from PD planning and preparation, also kindergarten screening, OTES, grade acceleration testing, which also could be early entrance testing for our incoming kindergarten students. Also, our building leadership team meetings, SALA to provide special education instruction, and that is on a semester. I will share with you that you will see quite a large number in hours that are articulated there. We were having difficulty and still are having difficulty securing teachers to teach these students, so we're practicing the same model that we did last year. We have teachers that are on staff that are willing to teach additional students, an additional class of students, and this is what this is for. Now, what we have decided to do with this particular group is just hire them for the first semester. Hopefully, UT will bring us some more students from the college to hire, and we will be able to hire additional instructors for the second semester of the school year. And also, we have a few other folks that are listed for PD, collaboration, cosmetology intervention, et cetera. I recommend item 6.11 for transitional work, up to 2 hours for a sped transition for a specific student with disabilities that happens to be new to our district this year. Item 6.12 are additional hours for our preschool program, and this is up to 37 hours for our preschool employees. Item 6.13 is the consent agenda approval of items 6.1 through 6.12.
Okay, and do you want us to pull out 6.3?
I would, please, because I'm not sure that year is correct.
Okay.
For the supplemental. So 6.3 I would like to table.
Okay, so,
You have to
I
rescind.
can make a motion.
yeah,
Okay, so I'll move to approve items 6.1 and 6.2, and items 6.4 to 6.12 on a consent agenda basis.
Thank you.
I'll second.
any comments or questions? Ms. Shanks?
Ruslan Slutsky.
Yes.
Kimberly Conklin.
Yes.
Greg Feller.
Yes.
Tammy Lavalette.
Yes.
Julie Hoffman.
Yes.
Thank you. I want our records to be accurate. I appreciate that. Items 7.1 through 7.5, I am also recommending approval on a consent agenda item basis. Item 7.1, classified, we have a number of individuals who are changing positions within our district, either to another building or another position or combining positions. Item 7.2, we have a number of new classified new hires that will serve as district substitutes, which will allow us to use them across the district in areas as needed. Item 7.3, we have a classified resignation of 2 individuals. Also, item 7.4, we have additional hours being recommended for approval to work in our cafeteria and also for some of our special education students to provide band support for individuals with disabilities. Item 7.5 looks at increasing a number of classified substitute hourly wages for the 2021-2022 school year. And I recommend, again, as item point 6, recommend approval for items 7.1 through 7.5.
I'll move approval on a consent agenda basis, items 7.1 through 7.5.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? Ms. Shanks?
Julie Hoffman?
Yes.
Jamie Lavalette?
Yes.
Bruce Lanslewski?
Yes.
Greg Feller?
Yes.
Kimberly Conklin?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 8, oh.
Go
this
ahead.
is it.
No,
Oh, you
like,
sure you don't want
I
to?
didn't know it was on yet. So you want to delegate to the meeting, right? To a
Yes,
meeting?
yes. Actually, we voted on,
You have to go.
now you have to go to Capitol Conference just for this
You were
one
a
meeting.
delegate.
But we
No,
do
you
need to
don't.
recommend
Okay.
a delegate
All right.
for the board to participate in the business meeting down at Capitol Conference this fall.
Greg and I we're staring at each other like, who's going to do it?
Since I'm not going, should I just get the nominations?
Yeah, go ahead.
What are you both going?
Yeah, all 4 of us are going.
I'll nominate Greg.
You know what? The only person we're certain is going is Greg.
That's true.
That makes sense.
Greg it is.
And I'll be the alternate.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We don't need to vote on that, do we? Or do you?
I don't think so.
No, okay. All right, this is the second opportunity for public participation for items which are not on the agenda. And I know we have one to call. Now, how do you want me to get this on here?
Just put it close to the mic, I guess.
Hello, this is Carol Wygant speaking.
Hi, Carol. This is Julie Hoffman calling from the Sylvania Board of Education.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, I know you requested to participate in our meeting tonight, so if you could just state your name and address, and then the floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for letting me speak with you today. My name is Carol Wygant, and my address is 5228 West Croft Drive. I'm an alum of Sylvania Northview High School and wanted to bring forth some concerns to the school board as someone who attended Sylvania schools not too long ago. First, I want to express the importance of including diversity, equity, and inclusion as a base within the curriculum. Students will be expected to work collaboratively with many different groups and individuals throughout their schooling and their lives. And having diversity and inclusion as a foundation to that learning will help them to do so successfully and respectfully. Additionally, faculty and staff are tasked with teaching and working with individuals from diverse backgrounds and providing education and training materials on how best to interact with these diverse cultures, backgrounds, and abilities will help Sylvania Schools faculty and staff to be as successful as possible in working with students and parents that are different from them, and achieving Sylvania Schools' mission of preparing students to be lifelong learners and engaged citizens. As someone who attended The Ohio State University, I actually experienced a very large learning curve, as it was the first time I was exposed to and expected to work collaboratively with people who were from very different backgrounds as me. Had diversity and inclusion been stressed more during my time with Sylvania Schools, I feel as though I would have been better prepared to work with others in the college setting. Second, I want to express the importance of educating the whole child with social and emotional supports in addition to the curriculum. Different students will require different supports, and it's essential to recognize this so that each student can achieve the highest level of success possible. I ask that Sylvania Schools provide additional supports to children who may be particularly vulnerable, such as those that belong to racial, ethnic, or socioeconomic minorities, as well as individuals with differing physical and mental abilities. I ask that Sylvania Schools evaluates its success with supporting the whole child through an annual survey completed by students to determine what additional supports, if any, are necessary to help each student succeed. Thank you all for taking the time to listen today, and I appreciate the work you do to help Sylvania students achieve their highest level of success.
Thank you very much, Carol.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Jane Mouch. We just need your name and address.
It's Jane Mauk, 5227 Summer Drive. The reason I'm here today is because I'm concerned about the masks. My concern is that, what level do they really work? When you touch them, remove them, pull them under your nose, and these kind of things. Masks are not PPE. They are not sealed against your face like you would have with an N95, where you would fit test them, where you would get medical clearance to actually wear a mask. So if we're asking children to wear these masks, they can't even see your faces. I took a couple notes on some of the concerns you all have. Social and emotional growth was mentioned a couple of different times. You talked about hearing impaired students. These masks are impairing them, and are they really working? We need to look at what is really happening here. I was thrilled to see the STEM people. I have a mechanical engineering degree from the University of Michigan, so I love the science. And you'll notice when your masks are all gapped like they are, or you've pulled them down to take drinks, or your nose was sticking out, or you pull them under your chin. You know, if we were really in an environment where there were toxins here, you would not do that. You would be like, I'm never pulling that mask off. But you all feel comfortable doing that. So I'm concerned about our students, that they're being masked, and maybe there's students who don't want to be masked. So I think it should be a choice. If the children get a choice, and I'm sure the families will be consulted on this, those children who don't wear a mask should not be criticized, harassed, or ostracized. We need to look at the science. If you'd like to look and learn more about the science and how to help keep our community safe, you need to consult with an industrial hygienist. There's a great series out there on the internet, on rumble.com, Petty Podcast, Petty Podcast. Just search on that. I really was hoping you guys would write that down, because you could help eliminate the virus before it got in front of a child's face by doing various things for your environment. You can do things like add just extra clean, fresh air, open the dampers, and yes, it's going to cost a little bit more money to heat the buildings, but we're going to have clean, fresh air in the buildings. You can install devices that actually kill the viruses as they go through your HVAC system. So I hope you'll consider that, and I hope you'll see how these masks are really a detriment to the children, and they really aren't protecting them from a microscopic virus. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay. That is all. So with that, I move we go into executive session for the purpose of
Compensation of public employees.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
We will not be taking action following executive session.
Julie Hoffman,
Yes.
Greg Feller,
Yes.
Bruce Lanslutsky,
Yes.
Kimberly Conklin,
Yes.
Tammy Lavalette.
Yes.